Well, welcome back to Bullish on Business, the EB-5 edition. I'm your host, Rose Odette, and today we are talking about one of my favorite intersections where you integrate immigration, investment, and real-world impact. And you all know I love healthcare. So that's what we're going to talk about. A lot of people hear EB-5 and think it's about getting visas. Well, but when it's done right, it's that plus a lot more. EB-5 can create jobs, deliver essential services, and give investors a real ownership in a United States business. My guest today is Mr. Rashid from We Got You Global, a company that focuses on direct investment model, really unique and very cool. And I think they're a trailblazer, in my opinion, with what they're doing with the direct investment model. So you're going to want to listen up really close because it's a lot different than what we've discussed before on the EB-5 podcast. We've got something super unique today. Very good opportunity. Well, this direct investment model that Mr. Rashid does, he pairs EB-5 investors with home healthcare franchises here in the United States. We're going to really unpack how that model works today, what investors should be looking for, and how this pathway can support aging Americans while helping families build a new life in the United States and create jobs. I mean, win-win. I can't even remember all the wins. Win, 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 win. I think if you're an investor, a potential EB-5 client, or a professional working around immigration and cross-border business, this episode is for you. So let's dive in. So let's begin, Mr. Rashid. Before we get into any techie stuff or EB-5 stuff, can you just tell us a little bit about you as a human? Like, what makes you tick? What do you do? What are you like as a regular person?
Okay, as a regular person, I'm pretty unique individual, I think. But on the surface, I'm just like anybody else, right? We have our things that bring us joy and things that bring us challenge and things of that nature as well. I do have small children, so they're kind of my priority, and rearing them in the new framework of what the world is today, and those challenges that come with that, especially in this technology rich universe that we have here. So I spend my time handling them mostly, and also I'm a musician as well, or have a musician background, so I love music. um, and just typically I just like being able to be of assistance to people. I have really big ideas, and
Mm.
I like to discuss them and bring them to fruition, whenever possible. But my conversation, where other people tend to, maybe use gossip, I use, the language of ideas and connectivity. And I like to bring something. I like to contribute something, uh, not only positive but introspective to the space. Whenever I can be in any space, I like to stay present and just bring some good energy to the table. And so that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Nice. Thank you for that, because it's really important to get into the nitty-gritty of those important topics that we're talking about today. But we have to consider our sources and knowing your why, being your children, and that you love music and you're a musician. What's your instrument?
Well, I'm a writer, so
Oh,
I'm actually starting to learn the guitar right now just to challenge myself. But I'm mostly
okay.
a writer,
You
performer.
write music?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's just beautiful. The thing I love about doing these podcasts is I learn so much about people, and I end up, believe it or not, I just fall for all of my guests because it people with passion come on these calls and they really bare their soul, tell us sort of like what you just did. And thank you for that, Mr. Rashid. Well, now we're going to just get into it. So tell us about your approach to EB-5. We are going to talk about your home health care approach.
Mhm,
And if you could tell us how it aligns with the EB-5 capital that needs to be invested.
mhm.
And then how did you land on this particular approach to EB-5 with healthcare provider franchises to help the elderly population?
It's actually a unique confluence of events that kind of transpired in order for this idea to be birthed. Um, One thing that was instrumental in this happening was, my mother. She passed a couple years ago with from cancer.
I'm so sorry.
It's no problem. I'm still, dealing with it, but it really sparked something in me as
Mhm,
far as um, the 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 care she received from her nurses. They were super loving, caring, like I know this is their job, but the way they made her feel and the way they made us feel while they were caring for her, it was really something to see. It
mm,
really made me genuinely appreciate people who appreciate what they do. Right.
mm,
So that was a component of it. And I kind of went off the grid for a minute, processing that situation. And I was divinely inspired on a on my own journey. I was in a foreign country meditating somewhere, and it really just hit me. You can do something to help people as well as serve your community.
mm,
So, putting those two things together, I've always been a person who contributed to my community since I can remember. Even during my musician days, it was like, whatever little bit I had, I still always did something for my community, whether it be clothes drives, book drives, um, just roundtable conversations to educate. I was always a factor, a pillar in my community.
mm,
So this was no different. I just, once I had children, that was my main focus, right? Because I have to, instill things into them so they can take care of their communities. So
mm, um,
that was my way of contributing at that point, right? Is to make sure that my children are actual additions, positive additions to their own communities, and
mm,
not
mm,
not anything outside of that. So
mm, mm,
uh, during this moment of divine inspiration, it just was like EB-5 and home health care. It just kind of merged in my brain.
mm,
It was like, hey, you can actually pair these things and do it, because I was already interested in home health care space um, through a buddy of mine who sells franchises, and he told me about this home health care franchise one time, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty interesting.
mhm,
You know, and I did a discovery call with the company, and it just stopped there. And then later on came EB-5. Later on, I learned about EB-5 and what they do. And so when it all came together, it was like, okay, well, you don't typically, well, at first I was going to try to start a regional center. And when I read all of the red tape that goes along with that, I said, yeah, there's got to be a better way to do this.
mhm,
And I was consulting with an attorney, and he was basically saying, well, the way you're trying to approach this, you actually don't need a regional center. You can just stick with direct investment. And
mhm,
boom, it was like the thing exploded at
mm.
that point. It was like,
Is that because your model, let me ask a question about that. Is it due to the fact that you are really, and a lot of EB-5 regional centers are about, large real estate,
right,
and you don't have that as a requirement,
right.
correct?
Right. So that's
So that's the big difference, I
yeah,
think. Is that right?
that's part of it. The
Part of it.
yes, because the reason why they do these big real estate projects is because they actually pool the resources, right? So they take multiple EB-5 investors and they put them in a pot, and then they get a certain amount of money, and then they go get debt financing, et cetera, et cetera.
And they
And
kind of stack it up.
exactly. And in order to do that, they need to have what's called an economic impact study,
Mm,
because there's no jobs there, right? These are assumptions. So
mhm.
in order for the USCIS to, you know, green light their project, so to speak, this economic impact study has to be done, because that's the way they validate. It's almost like an appraisal of a house, right? Like
Mhm.
you can think your house is worth $2 million, but if this appraisal comes back at 900,000, we're only gonna give you 900, 100,000 worth this for this property. So it's almost like that. It's a third party sourcing the validation of what job creation exists within this project's framework. So that is the major difference, is that I don't need that, because
Mm.
my jobs are created by a matter of operation. My jobs are W-2. So I hire an employee. You can run a payroll audit and say these
There
people
you
are
go.
employed. Here you
This
go.
isn't smoke and mirrors. This is fact,
This
Jack.
is just straight facts, so
Yep.
you can run that, and then they can send that in with their immigration application, and USCIS is very happy with that. So that's pretty much the main difference. Is there's no pooling, because I only take one investor per unit, per home healthcare agency. I'm only taking one investor. So there's no and let me be careful with my word framing. There's typically no securities issue around that, because it's one investor per franchise unit, and the way that we structure it as well.
Mhm.
It makes it so that it avoids the scrutiny of it being a security in dealing with it.
Follow you. Yeah, I follow that.
Yeah.
Wow, that is such a creative approach.
Yeah.
You do think out of the box.
I had to.
Do you know of anyone else approaching direct EB-5 the way you are?
I've never heard of anybody doing it like this. And,
Wow.
for me, even being a person that doesn't believe that I'm just some creative genius or anything like that, I just wanted to test it. So this is the convention that we met at.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
right. So I wanted to go and see if there's anybody doing it like this. And, comes to find out that nobody was. And it was
Mhm.
actually, piqued a couple people's interest because of how I was approaching it. So
Mhm.
it's very interesting though. So yeah, I haven't seen anybody doing it like this, and and using the pathway of home health care, particularly, right? Because
That's quite unique, I'm sure, also. Well,
exactly,
that is so very cool. I love that background and the differentiation did a great understand. I mean, it's really clear to me now how what you're doing is very different. And so in your model, what does success look like? Let's look out like 5 years. What would that look like for you, for a typical investor, financially and in terms of their immigration outcomes?
that's a good question. Um, I feel as if my our main priority at We Got You Global is to make sure that our clients get their green card. That's
Right.
the ultimate goal, right? So, you know, it's while it's nice and cool to, have this investment and put it into these things that can impact the community, their priority is to get a green card. And
Yes.
I noticed that, some people are, they care about helping people, right? But it
Mhm.
might not be the thing that motivates them
Mhm.
to come over to We Got You Global. So, those things that basically inspire them to come over and deal with us is the return and the process of getting.
Well, let's talk about the return, because the return, I've been told, for traditional regional center investors sometimes are at 1%.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts along those lines with the direct approach, with the franchise, with the healthcare? What are
Well,
you thinking? What's your range? I know you can't make
right. It's a,
you don't have a crystal ball,
yeah, yeah.
but
And they kind of caution us talking about certain numbers and figures and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's a more robust return because it's an operating business.
that's fair.
Not
That's fair.
Definitely not in the 1%, 2% range. In fact, the way my model is built is that I return a portion through a dividend yearly. So annually, you'll be receiving something,
Mm-hmm.
a return of your investment. Until that time that you receive, well, let me back that up. You'll receive income dividend annually, um, based off of your investment, not necessarily a return of investment, right? And then what I do is I offer a buyout of your position
Mm-hmm.
once your I-29 is approved. So once everything is cleared up and you're a citizen, now I can actually buy you out of your position and you get your funds, and plus you receive the.
Wow, what a good win. That's amazing. That's so cool. I just think this is fascinating. So I was just going to move on to this home health care, because it sounds like an EB-5 investor, or let's just call it an immigrant
Mhm.
investor. They are, if they're motivated for higher, more robust return, and also kind of passionate about healthcare, want to kind of create something that really does leave kind of a legacy in the area of, you know, helping people become, in their later years more comfortable, have the kind of care that your mother received. Um, so that's deeply kind of a local. I mean, you're up close and personal. This isn't like building a Marriott hotel somewhere, one and done. So this is so different. What does this EB-5 capital actually do on the ground in these US communities when it's deployed into the franchise?
Well, so ironically enough, uh, USCIS has a pathway for investors who participate in either rural areas or high unemployment areas. Okay. And so we structure our units around these particular areas anyway, because we want to make the most impact for the community. So it just kind of aligned, with with our goals as a company to facilitate even so-called fast tracking the immigration application, because they're prioritizing the investors who invest in rural areas or typically high unemployment areas. So these are the areas that where people don't have the most access to the healthcare resources as they would in a normal community. And so we're able to make impact immediately on the ground by having, these um, by having localized the access
Mm-hmm.
services. So you're coming in day one and you're already making an impact because we hire in these communities, we serve in these communities, et cetera, et cetera. And so if you're an investor, you know, giving back or serving your community might not be high on your priority list, but it might be. And
Might be.
it is, then we got you global is like the perfect vehicle for that. And if it's not even, the basic investor ideology still gets served with the returns and the pathway. So you can win either way. But for me, frankly, I would rather deal with people who actually have some intention behind their money,
Mhm.
which is the reason why I don't take on every investor either.
Mhm.
I
Mm.
want some type of alignment, right? Because if you're gonna, if because I look at myself, right? I've traveled pretty extensively across the world, and wherever I go, I typically adopt the custom of where I'm at, right? And I
Mm.
support the local economy from where I'm at. I'm not one of these people who stay in like the resort and just how have a great time. Like I go into communities. I want to see the people
Mm.
you guys really eat. How do you guys really spend your time?
Mhm.
The real issues here, and leave my mark everywhere. And
Mm.
I feel like that's important. If you're gonna come and immerse yourself into a community, and obviously you're a person of means, if you can afford this particular visa, why not come in with a splash?
Mhm.
Say, hey, I'm going to impact the place that I'm intending to live.
Right.
Those
That's beautiful.
and those are the people that I feel I we most align with and that we want to work with, because
Mhm.
it's not just about the dollar. It's about impact and immigration.
I love it. I truly love it. That's so amazing. So let's go into who is your ideal investor for your model? Is it a hands-on type or more strategic? So it sounds like that can be either from what you just said.
Yeah.
We kind
Typically,
of gravitate to the more active, like that they'd like to participate. Do they have to live near you or near the project, or do they have the freedom to live anywhere in the States, or do they need to be close to the project?
yeah, not at all. And actually, that's what makes We Got You Global's um, model very unique, is that we can duplicate this in any city, any state, in the whole nation. Whereas your real estate project is tied to whatever region that is for that time being. So we're a nimble operation that can pop up at anywhere at any given time, right? So um, I like there are certain um, requirements for an EB-5 investor in order to utilize direct investment. And one of those is to have, uh, so to speak, some skin in the game, right? Other than money in a project. So we have to frame our like our operating agreements and everything like that a certain way, so it gives them the ability to have say so. But generally speaking, our IP is what drives that business.
Mhm.
It's our model that makes it be what it is. So we would really like people that are want to be as hands off as possible, right? And let us work, because at the end of the day, we're building this to sustain. And long after you're about out of your position and you've returned your capital, we're still going.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to
Mhm.
maintain some type of structure and consistency
Mhm.
across the models, across the units. So that's where it becomes interesting.
So they, like, if they're more passive, they're still involved, they're still on the documents. Do they come to a board meeting every now and then, that type of thing? Or could they actually work there? Either way?
Yeah, I mean, there's always room for somebody that's that passionate that wants to be hands on. So I haven't seen that yet. Usually these
No.
just
So
want
they're normally a board member.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I've seen anybody who's like, yeah, I want to work it. Nah.
No, it's hard work. I know what you just described is a very difficult, and it takes a special skill and it takes a special person, and very, in my opinion, very rare to really have that bedside manner, and taking care of people are, that takes a special talent and skills and training.
Yeah.
So, what are the 3 to 5 questions you wish every potential EB-5 investor would ask you before they move forward?
Hmm. 3 to 5 questions they would ask me. Um, I think the first one should be, um, what are my intentions? What are my goals? So that they can see if they align with those. There's, I have a finance background, which allows me a specific insight into how a company drives and moves forward. So sometimes that might be a little too analytical for someone,
Mm.
but that's why I surround myself with a great team. So there's that. I can't do any of this without a solid team. And that to me has been the most important um, asset to We Got You Global even coming together.
Well,
And
I met one of your team members, and she was amazing. Really, really, she is just very effervescent, very excited, very on it. She knows she's got the passion that you described, and really is in it for the right reasons. And so the one or two people I've interacted with have been exactly that, a great team. And thank you for bringing them up on this podcast. I think that says a lot about your leadership skills and style. You wouldn't believe how many people come on and they sort of like it skims, and I myself try to draw out about the team. And when you're on a podcast, maybe things are a little nerve-wracking, but thank you for bringing up your team.
oh yeah, I think that's pretty critical, because none of this drives forward. You need specialists in various areas in order to build something like this that can be duplicated across multiple units across the states, right? Where different regulations are happening, where different people reside, right? It's not the
Mhm.
same type of people everywhere in this country. So you have to be conscious of that, and you have to have people that actually are coming in with the right intention in order to maneuver in various environments. So, I would definitely want them to ask about, our intentions and our goals, and secondarily about our team. Who are you surrounded by? Because I think that says a lot about a person
Mhm.
as well. And thirdly, I would hope they would ask, um, which is this might be kind of out there and offshoot, but maybe my why, because I would ask them their why as well.
Right.
I think that's important.
I
And
do too. And you say you're very analytical and left brain, but you got a big heart in there too. I think you got a lot going on both sides of your brain. So let's look forward. We talked about the future in a minute ago, but what I'd like to talk now is just about growth and EB-5 paired with these essential services. Do you anticipate going into other industries, or do you plan on staying in the healthcare franchise space?
phenomenal question. It's like you're reading my soul or something. But I have been known to have my hands in several pots. And as of late, I have been just hunkering down and focusing on this
Yeah.
in home health care, even as it comes to, we talked before, I told you I had a financial advisory firm. So even with that, and I'm also like a fractional CFO for businesses. All of these things I'm still tailoring to home health care. I have actually
Mm.
a meeting tomorrow in Chicago with a gentleman who owns a home health care agency, and he
Mm.
needs CFO services. So
Okay.
this is exactly what I want. I want to be in this space, utilizing my various talents and expertise, just so I can even immerse myself deeper into the process of things, right? So
Mhm.
so yeah, so I'm not trying to deviate from this at all. Anything that I'm involved uh, in business wise and everything, I'm really tailoring it and trying to narrow the
You're like
focusing exactly.
focusing in. That takes a lot. That's good. That's really good. Well, I really appreciate your time today, Mr. Rashad. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our EB-5 Bullish on Business audience before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'll just say, I know you asked earlier, pretty much like why home health care. And the other component of that, other than my personal reasons, is that this is just a burgeoning market right now for home healthcare industry. Um, we're moving away from housing people in hospitals for extended stays. You know, if you ask anybody who has had a recent hospital stay, ask them how fast they discharged them.
Yeah.
Still needed help. You know, um, so the people are being more and more seen at home. And what's interesting about that is that we actually have seen that care in the home actually has better outcomes for the patient than care in the hospital.
Mm.
So now you see technology catching on to this, and they're starting to develop stuff in Silicon Valley to
Mm-hmm.
facilitate this move towards being seen in the home. I've seen companies come with these big, elaborate scanner devices, and that that just shows up at your house and can give you a full reading and things of that nature. So, the market for home healthcare is doing nothing but exploding upwards, and we're actually going to need more and more people involved in it as it grows. So,
That's so true. That's very, very true. I really appreciate that. And that that makes so much sense. I own an electronic medical record software company, so I'm very much enmeshed in this whole electronic medical record and all of the technology that goes with it. And one of my best friends owns a company that schedules nurses into the homes. And I'll have to give you her details.
absolutely,
She's a kind of a startup, but
mhm,
she's like she's going woo
yeah,
with
yeah,
her tools. So it's called Coordinista, and she was on the podcast about maybe 10 months ago. So maybe I'll send you the link for her. She's like when you look at the YouTube podcast, you can see her. It's Coordinista, Cindy Bauer. But
okay.
I'll introduce you
Oh,
because this is a hot spot.
yeah,
This is huge. And to combine EB-5 and immigrant investors into a spot like this,
mhm,
especially as everyone's aging, and we need to provide those services at home because we're getting kicked out of the hospital. The other day, I took my daughter in at 3 a.m. for a really bad stomach, and we were out of there by 5:30. Like we were like, bam, bam, go, which is fine. Who wants to hang out at the hospital? But it was like a blur. So, we were like, oh, okay, bye.
right,
Because
right. That's where we're at now, right? So it's like, okay, well, let's take advantage of this
right.
yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much. And one thing I want to ask you is if in a year or so, would you join us again and give us an update
Oh,
on your project and how you're doing?
absolutely.
I think everyone will be really interested in your growth and how things have turned out in the short run.
For sure. I'll be glad to. Thank you. Thank
Thank you. Good, good. Well, I just want to tell everyone out there to like, share, and subscribe, especially share if you know an immigrant investor or if you know someone who knows someone. And I'm talking about F1 visa holders that are wanting to transition. I'm talking about H-1B visa holders that want to transition. It's a sweet spot right now for the whole EB-5 community. And what Mr. Rashid has here is really different. And if you're, got the kind of a big heart wanting to work in the healthcare field and you are interested in that as a passion, he's probably somebody you want to talk to.
you.
Okay, and with that, we'll say goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.